Manhood, brought to you in part by Lucozade and Solomon's Bespoke.
This is Manhood. Thank you so much for once again joining us for another very, very interesting conversation, and one that is very apt to every single person watching this episode. And I hope you're indeed a fan of the show and a fan of what we are about to discuss, and also bring some or take some things away from the show each and every time to make your life a better place. One thing that we always aim to be, and it's a quote that I like to say, be somebody that makes everybody feel like somebody. Yeah, something like that. Be somebody that makes everybody feel like somebody. I like that one. So today's topic, the power of support. So not just support for the show, support for the message, but support in general. And what does that indeed mean? So to my right, Johan Iodike, behavior change consultant. To his right, or behavior change specialist. Let me go with that one today. To his right, Shaun Fuentes, Director of Communications for the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, and so many more things. I mean, before we even move on there, Shaun, it was Director of Communications when it was Trinidad and Tobago Football Federation. So many things have changed. You've just been there for a while. I know you've touched almost 90 countries traveling with the football team, so we'll talk a lot more about that as we go along. And to his right, well, man who needs no introduction by now, this episode being 90 plenty, Niall McNish. I'm knowing this one, he's going to be the provocateur. So let's get straight into it. The power of support. Being a fan, everyone's a fan of something, but the importance of being that 12th man, and I know we're going to probably draw to football and talk about so many other things and to get a real deep dive into that, because right now the big topic is the Soca Warriors. But how does it impact us in our own lives, and what is the importance? Because even though you say, I don't need that, I'm strong-minded, I'm bad-minded, I could do these different things, I don't need this. We all do in some way, form, or fashion. And I think when we don't have the support, what we adopt and adapt to be able to get through is not always a good thing.
Mm-hmm. True. And then what I like to is define what we're talking about first. So if we're talking about support, like we could define what is support. We don't necessarily need a dictionary meaning. Mm-hmm. Everybody have their own perception of what support is. So I will start. Support to me is getting what I need at the right time, right? Okay. So sometimes in the past, I've had clashes with people who, quote unquote, come to help me or give me support, but that is not what I want. If you understand? No, they think this is what I want, or they think what I should have. But that's not really what I want. Look at it like this. If I want A, B, and C, that's 3 things. But you give me C to Z, that's 23 things. I still ain't getting what I want to know. So therefore, you could now say, or somebody could now say, well, look how much things I give you. But I only wanted A, B, and C. So I started off that premise with what I think support is.
So as you said that, I mean, you also referring to love languages. A lot of times, even in relationships, you find that people, you might say, but I give this woman everything I have. I give her this, I give her that. I'm giving her this fine wine. But she may, I think Khalil Gibran said it best, like what she may really be asking for, or persons, is water. So you try to give them wine and think you're giving them everything, but because you're not on the same page, you're not giving them what they need. So the support, like you said, you feel that you're doing everything as far as you're seeing it, but the support someone might need is simply to be there, just to be at their side, not giving them any advice or anything other than that. Shaun?
Yeah, of course. First of all, I want to say I'm happy for being here on the set, and I think the topic relates directly to persons like myself and the field that I'm involved in. In terms of support, I think as Johan said, is understanding what the needs are before you actually come out to offer that support. So for instance, we had a World Cup qualifier roughly a month ago, and we were appealing for Trinidad and Tobago to support the Warriors on this World Cup campaign. But what were we appealing for? Were we hoping for persons to call in on a radio program and back the team and offer moral support? Did we expect spiritual support? What I was interested in is ensuring that 21,000 people showed up at the Hasey Crawford Stadium, because at that particular time, that is what mattered for the national team to be able to propel themselves to a victory. That was the requirements at that point in time.
So the 12th man?
The 12th man, as you spoke about earlier. Fast forward 3 weeks, and we would have had what a lot of people, including myself, felt was Gold Cup campaign where we did not deliver the goods and there were a lot of expectations. What sort of support does the team need now? Is it enough to say, well, okay, we're trying to get 25,000 people in the stadium when we play Curacao in September? Is that sufficient? Is that what the team needs right now? No, we need a lot more. The dynamics and the requirements of the kind of support we are looking for now is a little more in terms of understanding what is required in terms of the moral support, the psychological support, the mental support, because the team has been through a rough time and now we're on the rebound.
So when you say, Shaun, the understanding, I think people, even if they hear all the backstory and who may have been injured, who may have been going through loss, fatigue, all of these different things, you can understand it. But the bottom line is what you want is results. Correct. If as a fan, I'm coming out, I'm looking at a team, and I don't want to say, okay, well, based on am I going to then set my expectations low to say, okay, well, am I going to accept mediocrity? To say, okay, well, if we get beat 4-0, to me that's like a win because of I have to understand all the other parameters that led up to the match. We're looking at it for entertainment. We're looking at it as citizens who want to win. You want to be able to take away and say, boy, we beat that team or we achieved. You want that for not just the team, because remember, they're a representation of us, right? As the name goes out there on the global scale. And so it is very hard to, I believe, as a fan or even in support, to be able to say, I understand that you might not get the resources of all these other countries, but when you go on the field, I still have an expectation. Sometimes, it's weird because it's not you like you said, you understand what they're going through and you understand the limitations, but you just really want that win. You wish that we were in a better state. I don't know if that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I think. So, I like to go with the meanings of words, right? So, what is a fan? A fan, that is word short for fanatic, right? Now, when I say fanatic, that brings a whole different depth to what a fan is. A fanatic is somebody who, and I just paraphrase it, you can look up the dictionary meaning, is somebody who believes or wants something from a myopic point of view. I don't care about nothing else. I just want to see that. Now, I'm not saying anything right or wrong with that. But if you understand what a fan is, then you could understand even how a fan or a fanatic would look at a team. So mean care, a fan is, I want to see my team win. I don't care if your mother dead. I don't care if your wife leave you. I don't care if your foot hurting you.
I want to get married.
Right. Perfect, right? I don't care. And that's what a fanatic is. And if you look, sometimes I remember this years ago, I went to a conference in UE where there was a guy, I think he was English. He went around the world analyzing small goal sweats and to see what he could see. And when he came to Trinidad, he was saying that Trinidad was one of the most diverse because, and I'm digressing, but I'll come back with the point, is that all kind of people of all social and economic status could come together and play together and then leave in the Benz, one walk home, whatever it is. And he was saying,
ask for a drop.
Or ask for a job, perfect. Yeah. And he's saying it's just something about sport. And even in my analysis, even for Trinidad, I was like, sometimes, why men this gear on so when they're not from Manchester, or they're not from Spain, or they're not from Barcelona, why this game with such vehement? And there's a fanaticism about it. Again, I'm not saying it right or wrong, but we understanding where it comes from so we could understand what support really is, what support really means. So if you understand what a fan wants, wherever that is a win. I want to see a man get capped because sometimes people just get more excited for the dribble than if the game. So if men real dribble what we lost, I still feeling good because I'm a fan. I get what I want.
If you lose, but
you got value for money.
That is the part.
If you tear a man up on the field, hey, we looking at that. But then you know what you're going in for. But as you said, being a fanatic, also in the ego, it's I choose this. I am supporting this. And you see it all the time, even with Apple or Samsung phones. People you get into this argument and you're like, well, when you look at the basis, you say, well, you have shares in Samsung or Apple. Or,
right.
No, what it comes down to, the fundamental thing is, I have chosen this. And because I made this decision, I need to support my own decision and not be questioned about it because I am right. And so when you want to support that team as a fanatic or as a fan, because the fan it seems to be the nicer term, the softer term. When you're a fan of that or supporter, because the topic today is the power of support, right? You're supporting that team. There's an expectation of delivery. So I know, Shaun, you and I have had many a conversation to understand a lot of the background as to what transpired, even with the footballers that would have the optics of them going out and the understanding they need to do this and they need to do that. But as a supporter or as a fan, in this case, the fanatics who then get a bit more passionate about their response and their behaviors, it's like, I am paying my money, you're representing my country, that affects me and all these other things. And this is what, they're not looking at my behaviors, they're looking at your behaviors, and that's a representation of Trinidad and Tobago. And as a result, you're impacting me. And as a supporter, you take umbrage to that.
Yeah, just to go back to your point earlier, I think it also has to do with a proud affiliation. So you are proud to be affiliated or to be a fan of a team, whether it be Man U, whether it be Bayern Munich, or whether it be Trinidad and Tobago. So we go back again to a month ago. A lot of Trinidadians, people who did not even think about buying a ticket to go to the stadium, they were proud to say, I'm a fan of the Soca Warriors because we were winning, we won that game. And 2 weeks later, after the 5-0 whipping from the US, that same fan is no longer cares to be affiliated because now they're seeing themselves that I really want people to know that they're back in that team, because, and especially their overseas peers or friends, you know, they feel a little bit ashamed to say, well, yeah, that's my Trinidad and Tobago team that got in from the US.
They put back on their Germany or Brazil shirt.
Exactly. And then come September, if the team starts to do well again, all of a sudden they are a fan of Trinidad and Tobago again.
So can we put it into tiers where there's fanatics or fans, then we have supporters, and then there's bandwagoners?
Bandwagoners. Well, persons that are just, you're coming out.
Entitled to it.
You're entitled. Trinidad, let's be honest. One of the biggest successes with CPL is that the tag is biggest party in sport. Most persons, whether they like to admit it or not, who turn up on the day to watch the match are there for the party.
Trinidadians, when you say persons, you're talking about Trinidadians?
The persons supporting the Caribbean, the teams. Unless you are, how many of them are now looking after that when the team isn't playing here and looking at it on television? Or understand what is happening, or understand where we are in the standings and how we move forward. All you want is, okay, you're there for the party, and who it in a 6, who it in a 4, who get bowl out, and
Who win?
And who win? While I'm doing this, who won? Is it TKR, the team that I am supporting?
Because I am that person. I am
Right,
you know?
and even off what I was saying, that cool, you know, because the support is necessary. So let's just say, all right, the Trinidad team won the stadium full. All right, how do you get the stadium full? If possible, the game on a Friday. I just give an example, right? Then you see, it have drink specials, right? You have a flag selling before. You do what people want, and what you were saying, it have a minority of people, you said, Robert, who know the technicality of it. And we don't need to know. Is a lime, I want to go a lime. Who playing again? Or Trinidad playing somebody, but it's Friday, we going. The stadium will be full because you're giving people what they want. So it's like mutual benefit. Any relationship to me. I want something from you, so let me ask you what you want from me. It cannot be, because that's not how our brains operate. It cannot be, I want you to give me what I want for giving me sake, and you're not getting nothing. Our brains will operate based on that.
But that's what bandwagoners do. Bandwagoners are takers.
What bandwagoners do?
Bandwagoners, in the scheme of what we're discussing, I would say that that's the only group of people who not giving back to the athletes or to the family member,
not
to whoever
necessarily.
that is supposed to be supporting.
If I'm a bandwagonist, let me just say, so today I like Man U, tomorrow I like Chelsea.
No, you could have stopped at Man U. Right? You could have stopped at Man U. You can't like Man U today and
I would
Chelsea.
Be buying. Today I buy a Man U shirt. Tomorrow I buy a Bayern Munich. Next day I buy Real Madrid. Next day I buy Barcelona. No, but I'm still supporting because I have to pay for the T-shirt.
Agreed.
So bandwagon is still, yes, you buy the T-shirt because a bandwagon is still give. If I go to a game, If I go to Manchester game today and I decide I like Man City tomorrow and I go to their game, I'm still paying something to go. I'm still giving support. So I disagree with you there because bandwagoners, because we could play for bandwagoners too, you know. Bandwagoners, fans, supporters. If we understand what people want and you give people what they want, then it's a perfect relationship.
But I want to come back to the power of support. And as we sort of ventilating here, you know, trying to get granular with what we are speaking about specifically, because we need, you know, yes, we're talking about it in the context of sport and specifically right now, the Soca Warriors. It's also to have everyone understand what support means to someone else and how your lack of support can affect someone, even if they may have a showing of I don't need it, or they may appear okay with it. It has an impact. So we look at footballers, and in this case, Shaun, we look at footballers and we say they're professionals, they're athletes, they're making money. You know, nobody, I hear it all the time, like, you know, that person earning $30 million, you feeling sorry for them? They're humans.
Correct.
At the end of the day.
I always say that they're humans before athletes, and what I've experienced and noticed over the years, and a lot of people, I mean, with all due respect, don't understand that athletes and members of staff and people who are involved in the arena carry what I refer to as invisible loads that people don't see. So yes, you will see how fit a footballer looks, how he carries himself, his skills, his techniques, what he can do on the field of play. But there's a lot more that happens before he actually goes out onto the field of play. There's a lot more that will happen the moment he leaves that pitch and goes back to the locker room. And these are some of the things that over the years, Trinidad and Tobago as a footballing nation and as a sporting nation has, we've sort of come with the times. We've evolved in terms of learning how to understand the needs and the requirements of an athlete who is under all these different strains and expectations. But I don't think we're at a point yet where we fully understand what it requires. And I will go as far as to say that Jamaica are ahead of us in that regards. And these are some of the reasons we see that they propelled so much more than Trinidad and Tobago in different aspects of sports now. We're not just talking about football. They've qualified now for Women's World Cup even before Trinidad and Tobago has. They qualified for the World Cup before we did in 1998. You look at their athletes and you know, in the forum of athletics and to see where they've reached. And I think they have a better understanding. Now people may ask, but how can we allow that? It's Jamaica. We should be better than them. You know, we are a country that people may say economically we're stronger than they are. But there's a lot more that is required for you to really understand what it takes to get to that next level. And we are still in that process. I mean, hopefully with time we will get there.
So, you know, and Johan, so you could talk more about this, but you find that Jamaica, like in some other countries where they're very passionate about the name, they're very passionate about the brand Jamaica. And that stems from whether they push, whether it be Usain Bolt, Bob Marley, Beres Hammond, all of these different things. There's a very passionate, like, I am Jamaican. You find that when you travel, you know, all over the world, when people hear even our accent, it's always referred to, are you Jamaican? In many instances, you know.
What they ask us, people, I mean, I've been fortunate to
What
really
part
get
of
out
Jamaica
there.
we from?
What
You
part
know,
of Jamaica is Trinidad from?
So Jamaica has a stronger brand, yes, and it comes from the is nationalistic a word where they have
Well, yeah, I would add, and not being I'm not claiming to be any great historian, but let's say the history of it, right? For the most part, Jamaica, if you look at history, they took their freedom,
Yes.
right? We were given our freedom. So it's a different sentiment. So if you come from a culture where I take my freedom, that and Haiti too, but let me be talking about Jamaica. Jamaica, they took their freedom. So Trinidadians, we not from a place of where we proud or anything. You know, we take what we could get. If you understand what I'm saying, that's a general our history. Right, we don't make sure and set the oil prices. We kind of whatever do other countries
we've
tell
never
us
been
to do,
through a
right?
war. We've never had to fight for anything, as you rightly said. We've not
Correct.
been through a war.
Right.
Yes, we had a coup back in 1990, but that's us. And then obviously we had what took place in the 70s, etc.
Right, but even in the coup, the man surrender. If you understand what I'm saying now, right? We and me, and I didn't say all the Trinidad. I said we.
Yeah.
We didn't really have to fight for anything, and plus, added to which, Trinidadians generally we very talented. We are Trinidadians without a doubt. Trinidadians without a doubt, talented people. So we are natural talent. So you don't have to work too much, right? Because either way, we go get through now, if you understand what I'm saying. Which has its advantages and disadvantages to it, right? So therefore, the work that we want, and sometimes what supporters are sometimes people who could ride through unconditional, right? Sometimes we want unconditional support. And this is my belief. Support is not unconditional. What sometimes I hear athletes say is, because I'm playing for Trinidad, because I'm doing for Trinidad, you should support me. Now, that could work in other countries. Sometimes you have to see things for as they are, not how we think they should be, right? If you understand that Trinidadians like a party, just using that same example, give them a party. Don't say, well, you shouldn't want a party, because now you're denying somebody who they fundamentally are. If you want a party, get them a party, I go full the stadium.
So what I want you to do now, Johan, is support me in going to the break.
All right, cool.
This is Manhood, and we're speaking about the power of support. And to go back to what we were discussing earlier, Robert, in terms of what we experience as athletes, as members of our professional team, as backroom staff, both on and off the football pitch, what do we expect? What are the support measures or mechanisms that we are, hoping for as athletes or as members of a team? How do we put together or understand what are the requirements? These are some of the topics that I would like to share with you and discuss with you from my perspective, having worked in the arena for actually this year, October is going to make it 25 years. I've been working with a national football team in Trinidad and Tobago.
Congratulations.
So I was able to experience, I don't know if you remember, back in 2001 for the 2002 campaign. Interestingly, our current head coach, Dwight York, was playing for Man U at the time. And we were preparing for the first qualifier of the HEX, the final round of World Cup qualification. This was away to Jamaica on Ash Wednesday. So we were in camp in the UK for approximately 9 days. We were training at Arsenal's training complex and flew into Jamaica 2 days. That would have been Carnival Sunday. So you can imagine when everything happening back in Trinidad at the time. I specifically remember people like Brian Lara was, in support of the team because obviously him and the relationship with him and York and Russell. And we flew into the Cayman Islands on the Friday, played a friendly, flew to Jamaica on the Sunday, fully aware of what is taking place back in Port of Spain, and then had to go and face the Reggae Boys at 12 midday, steaming hot sun in the office. We would have lost that game 1-0. And, since from those times, it kind of molded me into what I am now in terms of understanding the demands of the sport, the demands of what it means to serve these athletes or these footballers as part of the backroom staff. And you fast forward now to 2005, 2006, when we really hit the pinnacle in terms of qualification for a World Cup. And going to the World Cup in Germany and experiencing again how different nations and different teams, how they have their programs in place. What do they do for the benefit of their athletes, or what they believe is what their players require to perform at an elite level. And just being able to experience all of these things is what has, again, made me into what I am now. And that's why, for some reason, I always get the question, why are you still in Trinidad and Tobago football? What are you doing there? What's your future? Where you see this country going? We can't win a Gold Cup. If they play a Caribbean Cup right now, we would no longer be favourites. But it's something deeper than that. Again, we spoke about passion earlier, understanding why we're here to serve. I serve unconditionally. And this is where I see my purpose in terms of being able to contribute to nation building, one, because I see sport and more so football as an avenue to achieve this.
Wait, you're serving unconditionally at the TTFA, or you're just serving in general unconditionally?
What?
Because if today, tomorrow, they say, hey, Breds, hey, what? you can't get paid.
Yeah.
There's a condition.
But we have experienced that, and you've
Right,
noticed in
yes,
your days as
yeah.
a journalist, we have experienced 2 and 3 months going without receiving a salary at the TTFA.
Right.
And up to recently, that also occurred. But again, you understand what your relevance and the duty that you're expected to perform. So again, it's all about serving country, and I've found a way and avenue to be able to serve my country through what I do, which is basically being a part of a backroom staff for a national football team, serving as head of communications, marketing, etc. But it's a lot more than that, because now you understand that being a press officer for a national team is a lot more than just distributing, images or content for the sake of what the media is expecting of you. It's a lot more, because now, as we spoke earlier, it's about understanding the needs of the athletes. So how do I ensure that Levi Garcia was in the best frame of mind coming back into the national team after the sort of licks he would have received on social media, because we put out there that he had been excused from camp in order to be married, to have his wedding take place on the same day of the game against USA. So now I have to find myself in a place where when Levi comes back into the camp, what sort of mindset is he going to be in, and how do we prepare him for what is to come? And the thing about it is that he was carded to do the official match day -1 press conference with Dwight the day before the Haiti game. So coming into the camp now, knowing that the pressure is on you a little bit, because people are a little bit peeved about the fact that you're kind of, for want of better words, they're claiming that you abandoned your national team because you're looking at your personal self, and you took on a personal, how to put it, ambition.
Happy wife, happy life.
Exactly. And so I had to sit with Levi, and I kind of explain to him, why we went down this road and why it is that we have chosen him to address the media. And he was comfortable with it. But it was not a simple question of us just sitting down here and saying, hey, Robert, you had to do the press, boy, there we go. I had to kind of sit with him and say, these are some of the questions to expect. This is the sort of tone we would expect in terms of your delivery, so people could understand that you just didn't abandon the national team and you're still very committed to country. Because again, as you pointed out earlier, it's all about what the fan expects and what he wants to hear. He don't care whether Levi planned this wedding a year ago or whether he planned it 2 weeks ago, knowing very well that we had to play the US on that particular day. He wants to really understand and say, Levi, why did you make that decision? And are you still fully committed to this country? Can I still be one of your supporters? Should I really buy a ticket to come and see you play when next we are playing in Hazy Crawford Stadium? So again, you have to sort of prepare for that, and an understanding as well that...
But he would have been damned if you do and damned if you don't. Because when he came back, because should he have scored, had he had scored, people would say, you see, well, if he was there in another match, he would have scored. So you'd have been upset that you were missing, because we would have probably done better in that match. And having not scored, you're now telling yourself it's because you went to get married and you're mind on honeymoon and all the rest of it, or you're not prepared. So you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Yeah. He did what he felt was the best decision for himself outside of football. But as a supporter, I just want to come back really to that with regard to backroom staff and athletes, to say that the 12th man, as we're referring to it in talking about the power of support, just to give it some relevance and to, as an example, lifts any player, lifts any athlete, lifts anyone who's doing anything, even if you're not an athlete and you're playing something, a crowd is cheering your name, that you're going to perform in excess. And when you do that and you understand that, in the same way the fan or the supporter is giving you that lift to do better, when you don't do better or you don't perform, the fan or the supporter is now saying, okay, well, where's mine? You get to experience.
What are you giving me back?
What are you now giving me back? Because now I'm left wanting. And the understanding there goes out the window, because I'm not coming here to understand all the things that you're going through. You're not seeing that person at that point as a Levi Garcia. You're seeing that person as a footballer, a representative who I've donned a shirt or painted my face or is representing my country, red, white, and black. Proud supporter, passionate about wanting to say, I won. I beat this team. I am this. This is the team that I chose. and you are the conduit for that to happen, and then you don't deliver. So I'm asking that in the background, do the players understand both dynamics?
Yeah, of course, totally, without a doubt, Robert. And again, sometimes we have to ask, is it that they don't express themselves sufficiently for the fan to understand this? Again, the fan is only seeing what they see on the television screen for that 90 minutes, what they may see in a couple of the interviews, or what they may experience when they show up at the stadium. And I think one of the things that has plagued our football over the years, not so much the coverage, because again, there's only so much coverage you can do, but I think that there are a lot more platforms for fans to see what some of the teams that they support on the international scale, whether it be Premier League, whether it be La Liga, whether it be Euros. They see a lot more of those players and those teams and what happens behind the scenes. And I think what has happened here in Trinidad and Tobago is that not enough has been put out there in terms of broadcast, in terms of being able to allow the fan to be really identify with the national team. Again, it's always been a work in progress. I think even in Jamaica, they've done a slightly better job in terms of how their league is put out there and how their athletes are put on different forums. But generally in the Caribbean, you really don't see that too much of the behind the scenes. We've started about 4 to 5 years ago, we started a behind the scenes series on our national team. So you could go on our YouTube channels and you can actually see what happens in the camp outside of the football pitch. And again, this is about educating the fan, because some people really want to see more and then some really don't care. They just want, all of their concern about is what happens when they go to the AC Crawford Stadium to see how the team performs.
Maybe there's a difference. I'm using Nile tier system, right? Yeah. Maybe there's a difference between a fan and a supporter. Yeah. Right? A fan, I just want what I want because I want it. I don't really care about anything else. And a supporter might be somebody who, yes, I want what I want, but I could understand. If you understand what I'm saying. So
or a bandwagonist, which is a further tier, is you didn't even want anything. You come in for a lime, or you come in because it's a popular thing at the time.
Correct.
Like how you said, a lot of people turned up on that day not even knowing what team we were playing, right? What was the importance of this game, who the players are. Yeah. I'm sure you could go to that crowd and ask, maybe half the crowd name 6 players, and they couldn't do it.
Half the crowd?
Yeah. Right. So what you're saying there is, if people who want behind the scenes, the people who want behind the scenes might be supporters. I'll just give an example. But fans mightn't care about behind the scenes. Bandwagonists mightn't care about behind the scenes. So even understanding what we have more of. So let's say, and using the Trinidad team because we talk about that. Trinidad team have more supporters, we have more fans, or we have more
bandwagonists for sure.
And if that is the case, then if you want something from these bandwagonists or these fans, then understanding that, then you could establish a mutual benefit. But if you think you're given for supporters, but the supporters in the minority, then there's a fundamental disconnect between it.
But just to come back, because when we use terms like bandwagonists, it has a negative, in certain cases, a negative connotation to it, right?
Like negative connotation.
But if we come back to what Johansi spoke about at the start with regard to support, whether or not you like it or not, you might call somebody a faux fan, like if they supported Man City. I mean, I hate to even say the word Man City, but if you happen to be stupid enough to support, I say that from
you just taking all kind of shots.
Yeah, but
they off-skill
technical nice technical stuff, right? But Man City's a good football team, regardless of whether I support them or not. Even though they got beat recently in the FIFA Club World Cup. The point is, once you purchase, you're not given, you purchase any sort of the paraphernalia, you are supporting. So by definition, you are a supporter. It might be the specific that I am looking at this team. I know who they are. I know if they won a World Cup. I know all of these different things. The fact is, you've supported. You've bought.
So if I buy a bootleg, shirt.
Well, if you buy a bootleg, you support the store you bought it from.
So this is my point. The point of what you're trying to make there is, because I'm spending money specifically with a team, I'm supporting them. People don't care.
You've supported.
No, you see, maybe is
I won't look at it.
Let me look at it from a human nature. We do things to get things. right? Remember, I said before is that our brain doesn't give our bodies energy to do anything unless it could come up with a perceived value of the thing. So if I purchase a jersey for a specific team, whether it bootleg or real, I want something from this. So me putting on the T-shirt could be me feeling good because I find the team good. Me putting it on, I don't know about team, but everybody wearing this team win, so I put on something that's popular. It could be, oh, you know what, I really feel for these guys. I supporting these guys, even though the loss and wherever it is, I want to. But either way, you gain something from it. And I think that is a fundamental thing. And I don't know why people just try to deny human nature at times. All of us want something from something. Even what you were saying, Shaun, even though it's service, right? Many times you gain something from it, right? It don't have to be money, right? You getting something from it. And nothing is wrong with getting something from something. You see that unconditional love and thing that we talk about? I'm not saying it don't exist, but it's to be honest about when you're applying that and when you're not applying it. Because most times you want something. Any relationship, if I'm friends with somebody, I'm friends with them because of I'm getting XYZ from them. And I give in too, So it's a mutually beneficial.
So it's transactional.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think it could be to an extent because what you mentioned there, and I will be honest about this, in my early days of working with the national team, the idea of the travel and being able to experience different cultures was part of it for me because even back then when I was first hired by the TTFA back in 2000, I was not part of the pay structure of the other members of staff. So yes, they would receive bonuses and match fees, and it's only by the time 2006 came around that I was now entitled to that. So of course, in the early days, wanting to perform a job, yes, one, but secondly, the attraction of the travel was also something. Now, I really don't care to jump on a plane.
Right.
But what you mentioned there, and I'll be honest about it again, is that sense of satisfaction in terms of seeing, my input having some sort of positive effect in terms of how the national team is seen, how it's viewed, the support that we get, commercial support, being able to ensure that maybe CONCACAF or FIFA is now seeing that, hey, Trinidad and Tobago is now kind of climbing up the ranks because they have a good commercial department, they're filling their stadiums with good crowds, and we can now say, hey, possibly we could host a Gold Cup game in Trinidad and Tobago because we are seeing some level of progress. That is what I get out of it.
You see where you now say perfect. You now say that if we bring a certain supporter, a base, then we could go and apply to FIFA, as you say, and tell me if I hear it correctly.
Correct, yeah.
So now that we could host a Gold Cup in Trinidad. Now, you see when you explain that, then I could say, let's say I don't care nothing about football, but I'm a businessman. So I could say, all right, if Gold Cup come, then I could sell XYZ. Then my business could XYZ. Now, you see, this is that conversation. This is how I think we should operate when we're talking to humans and the country. If I could tell the country, hey, let me go base. Nutsmen, I just gave you an example. Nutsmen, if we bring our Gold Cup into Trinidad, we go have a special place to put nutsmen, and all your, not guaranteed, but the likelihood of all your business will be higher. Now the nutsmen have a claim in it. So nutsmen now could start to sell tickets for the game. Hear what I'm saying? So nutsmen selling the tickets. Then somebody else have a stake. Okay, well, people selling snow cone, right? So I go in, let's say, I don't say low, but let me say people who not necessarily in the realm. Now we explain the importance and the economics and the benefit. So now the football could benefit the players because the players getting what they want, let's say, which is support. It benefits in businessmen, it benefits in the fans, the fanatics, what was the next day? The bandwagoners.
And it's strengthening the brand as well.
Right. So understanding that, and then we could be able to move forward. And what I'm understanding now is that we have to go to a break.
This is Manhood, and we're talking about the power of support. Now, we mentioned how great support was for the athletes, but for me, I want to bring it down to like the everyday man, right? And fake support and how dangerous that is, because again, a lot of people say that they're offering support, and I remember you mentioned in during the break where you saying that you're supporting me, but you're really saying that for your own ego. It's not really for my benefit of what support is. And that happens a lot in relationships now. So, and I'm assuming that could be applied to the national team as well, where fans coming out, we saying that we supporting them, we putting on the colours, but in reality, we don't really actually give them that structure that they really need, because fans like you, with how you love your team, Robert, it's Man United, honestly,
And Soca Warriors.
and so good, but I don't understand how you like Man United, because they don't perform as well. But you're a fan, because win or lose,
true
you're
supporter.
gonna be
A true
there
supporter.
forever.
Correct.
You understand?
Correct.
You wear the flag regardless. When you lose and you have other people giving you some beans, I see you take it and you try your best. You struggle back, but you be there now. And I don't see that in the majority of Trinidad supporters.
So let me bring it back to, apart from Manchester United, I've been supporting Manchester United since 1985, right? And my dad was a supporter, and therefore you build and you have an understanding. It's like Shaun spoke about it. You must have an understanding of your team, and understanding why. Why are you really supporting this team? Are you supporting this team because everybody else supports them because they're winning, or are you supporting them because there's more to it than that? And once you start to have that understanding, is why win, lose, or draw, nobody say any frustration isn't there. There are many times I want to rip off that shirt and, oh God, because you're passionate about it. But more so the Soca Warriors, there's a level up from that, because that's now national. And a lot of times it's also when you know the potential. Like if you know some of these the background, you say, okay, well, God, we know we are a party society, and we know we are this, and we know we are that. And comes like supporting the West Indies team. Regardless, win, lose, or draw, we get frustrated because we know the potential, or we know what, and then sometimes historically as well, we look back and we know what was, right? The days of Fire in Babylon and those kinds of things, we look at those teams and we want that once again. So like Manchester United now, we know what the team used to be, and we have the expectation that we will be there once again. So with the Soca Warriors, and just to bring it back to that feeling, it's national pride. It's just wanting, you just want to win. You want again for another something else, because one thing that happens in this country and unites everybody is sport. So when you see, whether you're a bandwagonist, whether you're a supporter, whether you're a fan, and you see 21,000 people in that stadium all wearing red and happy because of how our team is performing and they're scoring, that's a plus. And I will continue regardless through the campaigns to support, say, the Soca Warriors, but I'm not in any way like a bandwagonist, not understanding of the road that's ahead of us. So when people say things like we got beat Jamaica coming and going, you're not really understanding football, and you're not understanding that it's as Kevin Keegan once said, it's a game of two halves. Anything can happen. It's 12 against 12, 11 against 11.
People don't need to understand.
But again, and that comes down to the difference between a bandwagonist, a supporter, and a fan, and somebody really understanding what is the expectation. You're not going to expect, say, Barcelona coming to play a local sweat team in Trinidad and Tobago and expect to beat them. I mean, the sweat team to beat Barcelona. You must have an understanding so that your expectation is measured.
You prepare yourself.
And you prepare yourself to a certain extent. Now, if you see
But is that education or not understanding?
I know one say that because you understand is based on your perception. Your perception of Barcelona, your perception of the Fet Match team is whatever. So the person perception of Trinidad and the person perception of the Jamaica team. And why I say that is because it's to remember, our athlete, a fan, a bandwagonist, a supporter, a coach, technical staff, a man, a woman. We are all human now. So we cannot forget the human dynamics in all of these things. And human dynamics, everybody's not the same, right? And human dynamics also is based on a shifting tide, right? People change all the time. So sometimes when we speak in categories and linear. So again, a fan is this, a this, a this. Support should look like this. A true person is this. A athlete should do this. A patriot should do this. But people are still people. And if we don't take time, we may not have plenty time because there's plenty of different people, but to understand the difference in people. So we're going with support. And that's why I say support should be customized or tailored based on what the person wants. So let me give a out of sport example. When somebody pass away in the family, right? And you hear, I'll give you an example. A brethren of mine yesterday messaged me and tell me, hey, my father passed away, right? In that moment, and this is what I learned over the years, right? Normally, I think condolences, right? I need to go on, when is the funeral? But I've learned, he's telling me, hey, my father passed away. What I said was, how can I support? Or what support do you need? Right. Because let him tell me what to do, not what I feel he should do.
Okay.
And the potential, because we talk about, you say potential. Potential is imagination. Potential don't exist. What Manchester or the West Indies or whoever did 10 years ago don't exist now. The players who existed then don't exist now. So even having the expectations of what don't exist to now is fantasy now.
Well, a skill set doesn't exist right now, but they're still
Even
around.
self, it's fantasy. So me projecting, so let me go back real word. Somebody, parents pass away, me projecting what I think they should need is not living in the real world either, versus asking them what support you need. So you know what he told me? Say, bro, I don't really need any support right now. He sent me the, now funerals not televised, but he can send a link for me, right? He sent the link, right? Now, he didn't say no message link, but it implies to me that, hey, check it out. The support right now is logging you.
Knowing that you'll be there.
Right? If you understand what I'm saying. And I said, okay, even if you're not support now, even after, if you need something, if you need to lime, if you need to talk, just let me know. But I put it that way because now the person is telling me what support they need. So now I live in reality.
But we coming back to manhood on a general basis and how men are. Men always want to reach out and ask for help or assistance. So if I'm to say to somebody, what support do you need? They may really want support, but say the support is financial. Are they really going to reach out and say, hey, I need you to give me X amount of money. I need a 10,000 or I need you to come and rub my back or whatever the case may be. Men are so therefore sometimes it is reading the room. But
why? And all of us are men, we could answer. Why men don't say what they want?
But in the same way, you don't say if you're ill or something to your family, you don't be a burden.
Why? So you don't want to be a burden. Like one answer.
We wasn't trained for that.
Next answer is we wasn't trained. What was your answer?
You're just afraid of how you'll be perceived in terms of what people will think about you. It's like, yeah, he's a softie.
So fear, right? So all of us have these responses, and even the men looking on. Why it is we don't want to ask for support. So my reason why I wouldn't ask for support sometimes the same thing. I don't want to seem like a burden, right? I don't want the person think wherever they could think, right? And all of this still is based in fantasy, right? We men make up these things that don't exist, that hold us back. Now, I know what I'm saying is easier said than done to change it, but I'm putting it out there because I have to now even me coach myself into saying, hey, and my brethren say, hey, you need anything, call me. People actually literally told me this, so this is no fantasy. I have people who say, if you need something, call me. But now I, living in my own world of, nah, boy, I don't want to be a burden.
But you answer people say that all the time, though. It's like, when your people living away, and they say, hey, if ever you're in this country, whatever, come and check me, or give me a shout, or come and you could stay by me. But the reality is, you get someone that will call it.
Open it,
don't call it. It's like
that is fake support.
Is he fake support? So just to come back quickly to touch on what you were saying about supporting my support for say Manchester United or the Socorers and the passion, even in win, lose or draw, but even in the people that may be for support, as Johansi said, it is still support in a way because there's something that they're getting out of it. Whether they're getting a line, whether they're getting connection, or so they may not be as perceived to be supporting in the way that the players may want or in the way that the country may need at the time, but they're supporting they're getting something from it. And it is still a form of support, whether for or not. But I really I know we keep coming back to the football analogy and the sport analogy because it's so apt and it's so present, how we as a country need to support one another.
No, we don't need to.
We should.
No, you see, that's where the problem is coming, right? When you tell somebody what they need to or what they should do, that sometimes negates what they really want. And finding out what people want, and I learned this lesson harsh over the years. Finding out what people want is firstly important.
So you don't need support.
If you ask me if I need support,
Yeah.
yes, I need support. But you have to ask me what support I need if you want to give support, or I have to decide what.
But I didn't.
Really
But I
want
didn't
and ask.
determine. You made an assumption. I didn't determine what that support was. All I said
No,
was
but you said
you need
Trinidadians should
support.
You can't tell people what they should do because
But you just said that we need support.
No. You asked me a question. You asked me if I need support. I need.
Do
support.
you need
Just send me your
support?
answer.
Of course, I need support.
Do you need support?
I do need
So by a room of four.
Yes, though. Why wouldn't you not think that there should be support for the national football team?
No, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have. What I'm saying is you don't tell people what to do and how they should do
Why?
it. Because that's being bold-faced. If I tell you what you should do with your life, it's like I'll use the example. That's like when I was working with some of the intercult teams. I remember the coach was telling the football players why they should like football. You should like the love of the game, and I explained this already. You should like the love of the game for the love of the sport. But some of them doing it for gills. Some of them doing it for
is there
fame.
a difference then in terms of telling them that they should or making some form of appeal? So for instance, if the previous game prior to when we played St. Kitts, I got 6,000 people in the stadium and I realized the need for us to have 20,000 people in the stadium, how do I achieve that? Do I appeal to them or do I just hope that people will just over the space of time decide that
Ask
we'll
them,
be
ask the
going to
people what all you want. What all you need, what do I need to do to bring all in the stadium? And you'll get responsive. If you put a poll out, I'm almost certain. Put a poll out, say, hey, we want the stadium full. What do you need? You'll get an overwhelming amount of answers, and then what you could do now, you could analyze, okay, what was the majority of the answers, and then you give people what they want, so you get what you want. Mutual benefit, and that's how relationships
But
are.
and that's a very good thing to do. But we keep coming back to the
so
football
let's-
again,
let's-
right?
before you move forward, right? So I have a particular situation that I'm dealing with right now.
Okay.
Now it may not be the best situation for us, but we have decisions to make. So I don't know if I could say this, but I will go on record as saying it. So
We'll
heard about
keep it between us.
Yeah. We heard about the recent the Vibes Cartel concert that didn't come off, right? So some of the persons who have been part of that, they've reached out to us because they realize Jamaica is playing Trinidad in November. That's the game scheduled for Hazy Crawford Stadium. And the word is that they're obviously going to reschedule this concert.
Okay.
And they are now looking to tie it in the week of that game with the hope that they could bring the artists to perform in a halftime show at the Hazy Crawford Stadium at Trinidad and Tobago home game against Jamaica.
Okay.
Now, if I put a poll out and ask people, would you buy a ticket if Vibes Cartel is performing at halftime? 100% of the people might say yes.
Okay.
But is it what we should do? I would never have a Jamaican artist perform at home when we play. Similarly,
Okay.
Marshall Montano will never be called up by the GFF to perform halftime when we played in the office.
Okay.
And
All right.
even more so, there's how Trinbagonians feel now, the fact that regardless of money and all of that, you didn't come, you didn't perform, you've left, you sort of, there's enough feeling of abandonment. So when you say 100%, I don't think so. I don't think people are. You might like the music still, but
you see, that's a good question.
Do I say because maybe 9,000 people would respond and say, yeah.
Yeah.
Should I then say, okay, let me go ahead and do this?
no, I'd be a full-on Trinbagonian feel.
No, you see, what you're saying there, that's a good question. That's a good place to start because asking feedback really important. So you could even ask, would you come to the game if Vibes, using your example, if Vibes Cartel perform halftime? That's one question. Would you perform at the game if Vibes Cartel and Marshall Montano perform? Do you prefer Vibes Cartel or Marshall Montano to perform at the game? You have three questions. You get feedback, and then based on the information, or the information is closest to real than you one person assuming, right? Then you could make a decision. If you understand what I'm saying.
I know we're not really looking at time, right? But I have to. And I want to say that I don't want that we are closing the show without a focus looking at time with regards to support as an individual, the need for support, that one should be supported, whether you're told or not or agree. The fact is, whether you say I want support or don't need support, you want support. You need the support.
I agree with that.
Right? And so what are some of the nuggets or conversations that we can have? One suggestion was, as it pertains to the football team, a poll, so that people themselves can tell you what they are willing to do or not do in order to support or not support the team. And either way you take it, it gives you an understanding. But I'm talking about individually, or what can we do to show support to our brethren, to our colleagues, to our family, to persons who, I think I read this quote once from Robin Williams, and I don't know it verbatim, but it says, be kind to everyone you meet, because you never know what they're going through. Everybody's going through something. And in that way, that even if the person doesn't ask you, like your brethren whose father died, may say, I'm good, or not say anything at that point, it's because his focus is on is on the fact that he's lost his father. But just being there is a form of support. Just showing up sometimes, making a couple phone calls, bringing some food, saying, hey, I'm bringing a beer. You mightn't feel for this right now, but hey, Ching, let's take a drink. Those moments of showing that support, whether verbalized or not, is what I'd like us just to real briefly speak about.
Yeah, and I think that goes back again to you understanding what the effect will be. What is the end game?
Mm-hmm.
What are you hoping to accomplish for your brethren?
Mm-hmm.
So in a similar way, on the side of the fence that I'm sitting, I'm expecting or hoping that the supporters will understand what.
You bring it back to football again.
Well, to some extent, because that's what we're talking about. Right?
Yeah.
So, but it want to be football, it could be any sport, it could be any event, it could be any activity, it could be the march gras.
Right.
What do we hope to get from when we are appealing for that support or in that hope for support? What are we expecting, and what are the supporters? What do they hope to accomplish by the support that we hope they will offer?
Mm-hmm.
It comes down to that. That's the end game. It's all about that, because nobody in there is going to show up in the stadium or show up to the march gras because they think it's the most popular thing happening on the night.
Yeah.
It's not always about that.
Yeah.
What I'll say to that is, and I'll kind of tie this into my closing statement, right? I could, as to what you just said, Robert, I could be showing up for someone who needs the support, but I could easily, very well, 2 seconds after, use that to my advantage and say, but look how, which happens a lot in relationships, look how I supported you. You understand? And I know weaponizing the fact
reproach.
That it's a reproach. So was I actually supporting the person for them, or was I actually supporting for me now? And a lot of the times people support for themselves and not for the real reason of what support really means. Support's supposed to feel unconditional. That's what I keep going back to now, and I specifically applying it to relationships, right? As in, if you're really supporting somebody, it does not matter how they make you feel. It's supposed to be for the other person. That's what support actually means. Just to go to your point now. So,
well, look, I know it's part of your closing, right? But just to say that I'm in disagreement with that, because I come back to what Johanse says what are you getting from it? So even if there's nothing like what support actually means, support by the definition is what it is. There's no, our perception or the narrative or our societal influences around what we assume support is, or how it's perceived, is where it is our own interpretation. But support, whether I support you conditionally, unconditionally, with a bad mind behind it, if I'm saying to you, I'm supporting you, Niall, I'm going to give you $100,000 to do your pilot license. Whether I like you, dislike you, whether I'm doing it because I just want to feel good, whether I want to see you fail, whatever the case may be, did you not get the money to go and do what you need to do?
I
Is that
agree.
not support?
Fair enough, but if it is that you wanted me to get my pilot license so that you could strap a bomb to the plane and,
Well,
and,
no, but
and
that,
crash
that's
it into-
but that's
So-
semantics. You going
No,
to another.
what I'm saying is that the reason behind you giving me the
Mm.
support
Not
was a
genuine.
selfish reason.
Not
You
genuine.
wasn't supporting me.
But is support supposed to be
either way, if because Robert said he given you the 100,000 to get a pilot license because he want to feel good, right? Is that a genuine reason?
Because he wants
Yeah,
to feel
because he
good.
want to feel good.
If that, let's say,
I'm
me
asking
not
if that's a
getting-
genuine reason.
It could be genuine for him, but back to what you were saying. What if I don't want to
If you
be
don't-
a pilot?
No, but let's.
I
want
to be a
pilot, yeah.
He's giving
Giving
you the
me-
money, but
Right.
the only reason
He
he's giving
did
it
it
is
for
because he
himself.
would feel good.
I don't care about whether you feel good or not.
Right? He don't even care if he become
Yeah.
a pilot, but he giving
Yeah.
it because it will make him feel
It's
good.
still support.
Is that a genuine
which
reason?
which you are allowed to turn down as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but what I'm
that-
saying to
that is
Shaun,
ju- that
but
is-
the word
that is a
support,
support.
it is still
But
support.
how can it be support if it's not enhancing?
But
somebody-
you
it's
say that it is
enhancing
enhancing
it. He
because-
getting 100,000.
Because
Yeah,
I'm getting.
just say what if you didn't want it to be?
You know, well, we removed that from the.
Yeah,
we
because
removed
I
that
wouldn't
from
give it
the-
to you if you didn't want
Yeah.
to do it.
So,
No, but let's just say I
Niall
want to be a
pilot.
pilot.
He gained the 100,000. But the reason he gained the 100,000 from Robert is because Robert want to feel good about himself.
Why are you concerned about that?
That is my point.
So then,
That's
in
important.
that, well, if that is the parameters, then yes, that is still support.
Mm-hmm.
It's still support.
Right.
I'll leave it. I'll leave it there. I'll let it just linger.
I
It's still
think
support.
that, and this may be more than the support, I think that sometimes we romanticize certain concepts, right?
Okay.
We romanticize it because, I don't know if it's from TV, I don't know if it's from Disney, I don't know where we get it from, but we romanticize it to eliminate the human dynamic element of things, which is most of us want to get something from it. And something, it don't have to mean something tangible. It could mean that I feel good. I went and feed the poor and it makes me feel good. I'm not getting nothing from the poor. Let's say I'm not even publicizing it. Nobody know. I went and feed the poor, but it gives me a good feeling. That is still about me, you know. If you understand what I'm saying, somebody else is benefiting from it as a result, but it is still about me. And I feel that is a fundamental part of human nature that we try to deny. Our satisfaction, our fulfillment with things. I do it because I want to be satisfied. And,
Okay.
but it doesn't negate the support, as Robert's saying. It don't negate the support.
Let's take this into your closing because we are kind of. I need you all to support me in
You
ensuring
ask him a
ensuring.
question,
No,
eh?
I agree.
Right,
No,
right,
yeah. In
right.
fairness, and I
So-
started the dialogue, but we still need to support each other to ensure that we finish on time.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, well, I said my closing statement. I just say that it could be some support could be damaging to the people that they're trying to support.
Okay, fair enough. How to give somebody support? I would say ask them first, right? That's my thing. Ask them. Let's just say maybe the person may not be in the emotional state to respond. Sometimes, if you know them already, you might know they like a beer. They might know they like cake. You might know they like something. So you could even try to offer those other things based on that, or observe. And then I would say to the person that needs support, I agree. We all need support. Even the person who say, well, I could do everything myself. You still have to go by the mechanic to fix your car.
True.
Right? You still have some sort of support you still need. You still have to go by the barber for a haircut. You still have to go by the lady to twist her hair. You still have to go by somebody for something. You are not God, because God could create out of him or herself. If you can't create everything for yourself, then you need some kind of support. And I don't think people should delude themselves into thinking that they don't need nobody because you need somebody at some time. Even if it's the maxi man, that you need to take the maxi to go. You need somebody at some time. So admitting the support, listing the support so that you could get what you need to accomplish what you want.
Shaun?
I tend to agree with what you're saying there, but I do think to some extent it has to work both ways. So, again, understanding what is the support required, and also understanding how much level of support I can offer. I just want to reference, for instance, I may have a significant other who is asking for a certain level of support, and I may not be able to offer that support, or I may not think that is the support that she requires. But if it's going to benefit her in some way, and I do know that hopefully it will, and it brings a level of satisfaction for her benefit, but something that I may also feel good about, then that's my way of offering support. In terms of what I am expecting now in terms of when I need support, I think you have to be very precise. You have to be very straightforward in terms of what your expectations are and what you are hoping. And again, I have to go back to the football side of it.
Do so.
Right? Come World Cup qualifiers coming up, what we really want is to have Trinidad and Tobago on board. We want to have a full Hazy Crawford Stadium. Whether or not the persons agree with the price of the ticket, and they may not be willing to pay $300 to come into the covered stand, but I want that support. I want the boys to feel that support. I want the country to be able to be elevated in terms of the energy that comes behind this campaign coming up. Obviously, it's a different scenario to comparing my support for my significant other or members of my family, but generally, I think it's about understanding exactly what is required.
Before you jump in, Robert, sorry, not to cut you. If it is there, could I say one statement just to the fans at home, like just one basic line statement, creed, to camera, what would that be? On behalf of the Trinidad and Tobago football.
On behalf of the team?
On behalf of the team.
Obviously, we have ambitions to qualify for the next World Cup. We know what the euphoria that this country experienced back in 2005, 2006. And we would like you to be the 12th man and come out and be part of this journey towards World Cup 2026.
Thank you.
And just to add to that, if you can't get a ticket, and that'll be a nice experience to know that people are saying, hey, you can't get a ticket, which means it's sold out. That you can still buy a shirt, you can still buy something, you can still don it, you can still let them on their way to the stadium. Outside of that, messages of support, because words have power, and as much as you can elevate a spirit, you can also totally tear someone down by words of power. And I know that there's this old saying or poem or that you'd hear back in the day, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. That's not accurate. You can be as resilient as you want, water off a duck's back. Words indeed do have power, and to choose your words carefully. In the same way that you can say something negative, you can certainly say something positive or keep a still tongue. There's two things that I would say with regards to support. One is, in many ways, as I started the show, to be somebody that makes everybody feel like somebody, and for yourself, because it's all about self-giving, self-love as well, to support yourself. You can't ever change the beginning, but you can start where you're at and change the ending. So with that one, this ends the show. The power of support. Johanse, Shaun, Niall, always a pleasure. Support one another. Support the show.
This suit fits Johanse reasonably well. However, a bit too tight here, stress on the button, a bit too snug on the upper arm, causes indentation. That's not good. This is good, 1/2 to 3/4 inch cuff showing. This is not good. The length of the jacket could be a bit shorter at this point, where this distance is the same as the distance from the ground, same amount of torso and leg showing. That would be perfect. Johanse, this jacket actually fits you very well with a few minor alterations. Lapel width is quite good. It matches your frame, your wide frame. That's important. The jacket length now is a lot better than before. So the proportion is equal torso, equal legs. That's just a general guide. No stress on the front of the jacket. You can turn around now, you can see it fits reasonably well on the collar. It's sitting against your neck. This felting here moves collars. All collars should have felting except for very casual jackets. And then you have the stitch in here to keep the collar sitting down. And we'll do like slight adjustments here, clean up the blades. And for the most part, this jacket looks actually good on you. The pants fit well. The length actually looks also quite good on you. So I think generally this is a good fit.
Manhood, brought to you in part by Lucozade and Solomon's Bespoke.